Howdy everyone, welcome to C.S. Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, Samwise, and I'm here to answer the Acolyte question, how can INFPs deal with insecurity and failure? And I've got an answer for you, but before we do this, I want to make sure that you understand you could be an INFJ, and that's one thing that is one of the things about typology that I enjoy is that, you could say, oh, well, I have a fear of failure. And it's like, everyone has a fear of failure. And it's like, yes. But what constitutes as failure? And, as the inferior is afraid of failure and the rejection that may come from it. It's like, oh, you failed? Well, I'm not loyal to you now, and I will go on and do other things. And that's what kills extrovert sensing inferior. But on the extrovert thinking inferior, it's afraid of, what other people are thinking and, the status and the reputation that comes with it. And if you're still kind of confused on those two, there's videos like INFJ versus INFP that you can watch. Or get, CSJ verified at csjoseph.live/coaching and, see if you can sort out that difference. But with that, we'll keep talking about INFPs. The lesson of the demon is, you will get nowhere until you listen to your demon function. Which it is trying to tell you, the INFP, that accept the truth for what it is, even if it bruises your ego. And I've got a horror story for you. Something to keep in mind when you ignore the demon. And it's a story about a Twitch streamer named Mitch Jones. And I think he is the ultimate example of an INFP committing to treachery. So back in late September, there was a bunch of Twitch drama going on, and it was involved with a live streamer was sexually assaulted by another streamer that was friends with a bigger streamer, and that bigger streamer allegedly sent Mitch Jones and his girlfriend to cover it up. But, Mitch Jones is one of the major witnesses to this who can attest that either this bigger streamer, Mizkif, did send them over for the intent of cover this up, or if it was unrelated to that. And he would tell people so many different things. For Mizkif, it's like, yeah, I'm your guy and I'll get your back. And then, for another streamer, Trainwrecks, it'd be like, I got your back. Mizkif is a scumbag. And it's just like, all these calls got leaked. And the more just Mitch Jones kept talking, they weren't consistent with anything he was talking about. And there was so many flaws with what he was saying. Like, the biggest one that stood out to me was he was in the meeting with Mizkif's girlfriend and the one streamer lady that was sexually assaulted for 20 minutes, but said he didn't know what was going on because he was playing with the dog. And it's like, well, what happened during the 20 minutes? It's confusing. And I'm not going to say that internet opinion is the dictator of like true and false, but T inferior, so concerned about what other people are thinking. If I go on Twitter and I look at Mitch Jones, there's still a bunch of comments about the more that he talks, the more confusing the details get, and he's really not clarifying anything. It's not clear what he's talking about, and that kind of creates a lot of memes like Mitch Jones, I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on the bottom. Lots of comments about him being like a rat or him like werewolf ripping apart clothing. Mitch Jones trying to give a straight answer. I've got them over here. But, or just YouTube comments on reactions to those videos where it's like, man, it's insane how Mitch Jones made him seem like the least liked person in the drama. Biggest takeaway, don't have Mitch Jones involved in your personal stuff. And all this happened also because Mitch Jones leaked it. Like, not the calls themselves or the situation, but, you know, the guy that knows about the situation that leaked it, it was because of him, you know. Mind Temple loves their drama, man. So, INFPs, I think you guys should keep that in mind when, you know, telling the truth. You know, it's very important. And you trying to hide it isn't really doing you a favor. And I will also say, I can't find a good comment about Mitch Jones in this scenario. Like, usually there's a lot of, oh, I stand for this guy, I stand for that guy. There's no one standing for Mitch Jones right now. But of course, this was a couple months ago. Things probably just went back to the things were. But, you know, that doesn't really help. But in the case of real life, you know, things have to take their time. Internet has a bunch of new things happening all the time. Real life isn't as dopamine hitting. It isn't as collective. It's just the people right there in real life, and usually they just have to settle their differences instead of just getting so many topics you can't keep them straight. So please accept the truth. Let it bruise your ego. And it's okay to sustain some bruises and some scars. There is a quote from Aladdin 2 that goes, "You would be surprised what you can live through." And that's the idea of your introverted sensing child being able to remember you've lived through things and you've survived them. And this proves, this is evidence, those bruisings to your ego, you know, the scars on yourself, proves your personal strength to get through the fear of being a failure and insecure with your status and all that other stuff. You know, fear is the mind killer. It will shut you down and you'll just stagnate. And that's the big concern for the Mind Temple philosophers, you know, that you stagnate, that you become slothful, there's no productivity. And if you want to help alleviate some of your fear that's killing your mind, well, I recommend you become one of our members at csjoseph.life/members. You'll get access to premium content that change your life, give you a new perspective, especially season 23, given the nature of this episode, how to master your demon function. You know, get a look at the TI Demon lecture, as well as the others, and you'll get a new perspective, and I think it'll help you quite a bit. It certainly helped me. But back to the video. But yeah, you should compare yourself to other people. It's not often said around here, but especially within the trickster and the nemesis, you should compare yourself to other people. Like, you know, using your sensory functions, you know, you're seeing other people and they spend their evenings, you know, watching sports ball and drinking and, you know, generally just non-productive things, and you're like, well, I'm doing the same thing that they are, you know. Compare yourself, be like, hey, you know, that's not a great activity, and then, you know, go ahead, start reading books, and you can give yourself a pat on the back for that. You know, not a ton of people do that on their spare time. You know, reading philosophy, self-help, entrepreneurial books. I'll always recommend Entrepreneurship 16. I have been having a blast with that. And, you know, on the feeling function end, you know, not like, don't go around on a high horse saying you're a better person, but, you know, you notice yourself being more useful than other people, you know, give yourself a pat on the back. You're in demand, but, you know, this all comes with the condition that you exercise more power and authority over your own life. Stop blaming other people for your sorrows. You know, trying to get that sympathy, empathy, that feeling badness out of other people, and accept that it is your responsibility to take care of your problems, even if it's not your fault. I know it's not fair when things aren't your fault, but the thing is, everyone has a share of problems, that things may have been caused by them or not caused by them, or certain percentages. That stuff is like really complicated to judge out, and it's just better to just take things into account, because, you know, what are you going to do? Start collecting tabs on everyone, or are you just going to find your problems fixed by you taking care of them yourself. And the other thing too is fairness is just not a governable thing, you know. Who would decide what is fair in that case, and you know, who's going to make amends? And the answer is quite frankly no one. You know, you're better off to just take care of things that you need to take care of. And taking responsibility is actually the first steps to exercising power in your life. And I know there's a lot of INFPs that watch, you know, the lecture on power, being like, oh, well, no, I'm not immoral, like, that power hungriness is bad. And I just want to take a minute to say that I think the mentality that, you know, power equals bad and you don't want to be a bad person, and that is kind of just incorrect. Like, if you are too good of a person for power, that you're just kind of leaving the bad people with no competition to just take power. And I don't know, I kind of expect a little bit better of that. Like, at least give them a run for their money. You know, power is based on the beholder, and if you do good with power, that's good. It's a tool. And I think it should get some respect, but that's up to you. I hope I gave some insight to some INFPs in this video, or to anyone with an INFP in their life and trying to give them some encouragement. I'll see you guys on the next episode of the C.S. Joseph podcast, where I'll keep answering some more Acolyte questions. Take care, guys. Later.